you live here this morning. I wanted to jump on and do a training this morning because I did a training last week and I was talking about churn rates. And I had some people comment, like, one, not really understanding what I meant by churn rate. And so I wanted to kind of just talk about that. And really what I want to talk about today is why clients leave us, or they don't do, or they don't reuse us, depending on what industry you are in. And it's going to be something different than what you think it's going to be. So churn rate is really client attrition. And we see this primarily in where we're going to have industries where we're going to have residual income, in a sense. So like insurance agents. So insurance agents, right? Someone signs a policy that's going to be over, either monthly, however that's annually, whatever that looks like, whether that's a life policy, home and auto, property casualty, right? All of those things, or inside of the financial services where someone maybe, managing a portfolio for someone. And so what happens inside of that, it's a little bit different there than it is, say, in the real estate world or in the mortgage world, because we're in those situations that's going to be typically a one-off, meaning as a real estate professional, you're going to help someone either buy or sell a home. And that's not an ongoing thing. Now, if it is, that's awesome, right? You may have an investor or something like that. Same thing inside of a mortgage is someone's not going to be getting, a new mortgage with you every month. If they do, obviously that's great. And so when I talked about the churn rate is, as I coach inside of those industries, inside of, primarily, real estate, inside of mortgage, inside of financial services, insurance, is that if we can get that churn rate down inside of those, one is because we've already acquired those clients. And if the longer that we can keep them, obviously the better that is going to be versus going out and procuring a new client when someone leaves for a multitude of reasons, except that reason is going to be interesting when I share that with you in a minute. And so, that's what talking about the churn inside. It's also called, it's client attrition, whatever that you want to in the industry world of it. It's, we call that churn. You see that in companies that have, it's memberships. You see it in gyms as well, right? There's a churn rate of like, okay, we got people, leaving us. And so we got what's that percentage of people that are leaving us, on a monthly, quarterly, whatever annual basis of however that you're going to track that. But really what it boils down to is people deciding to leave, not working with us any longer. That's ultimately what it means, is that they have made a decision to leave. In the real estate, in the mortgage world, where that becomes churn is different, but it still happens, is that if someone has done business with you, right, you've helped them, buy or sell a home, or you've helped them with, a mortgage or refinance, is that will they come back and will they reuse you? Will they use you again when they have a need, or when they have a friend or a family member or a colleague or someone in their world that needs a mortgage, or they need help in real estate? And what's so interesting is I've done this research on this, and I was looking at this. And the number one reason, and I'm going to talk first about insurance and in financial services, because I think there's a misconception at times, is that people always go, well, they left me because someone had a better rate, right? Or someone was getting them a better, or promised to get them a better rate of return, right, on their investment, or whatever that may have looked like. And what I've come to find out in doing the research and looking at this is the number one reason that people will leave an insurance professional or a financial services, whether you're advisor, planner, whatever that looks like, it's not what you would think. It's not because of the rate went up. It's not because of they didn't feel that they were doing a good job with them. The number one thing is that it was poor communication. They just weren't staying in communication with them. And the next thing, even before price or that, is that they just didn't feel like that they were bringing them value. But the communication piece is is one of the pieces where I think that it's so overlooked. It was like, well, they're a client, we have their policy, we're doing a great job for them. But what happens is that when we're not staying in communication with them, because what we have to remember, and I talk about this all the time, is that yes, we've acquired this client and we're doing a great job for them. That is the goal. Is that what you have to remember is that they are getting constantly bombarded all the time with somebody new saying, I can do it cheaper, I'm better, I'm all of these things, which we all know that. The difference of it is that when we stay in consistent communication with our clients, especially when there's times of like uncertainty, because when there's uncertainty, people start to worry. For example, if you're in the financial services world and market's kind of going crazy because people are getting their information from everyone else. If they're not hearing from you, then they're just in their mind is like, my person's not, what are they doing? I'm not hearing from them. Maybe I need to take my money and put it into Bitcoin or put it in gold or put it into my mattress, right? Whatever it is that they're hearing. And so why it's so important to have that consistent communication is it's just like, hey, giving them assurance, giving them some clarity and some certainty of understanding is like, hey, I know there's a lot going on, but I'm watching out for you. I'm in this and you got to communicate that, because more than likely you are doing this and just not communicating at a high level. And then we get upset when someone goes, hey, I'm transferring all my assets over to somebody new. And it's like, whoa, okay. Why is that? Well, because I didn't hear from you. I didn't feel like that you care, whatever that is, the feeling that they felt it wasn't obviously positive. And we have to be careful of is that we're not taking, these clients for granted. And sometimes that becomes the case. Is like we have them, especially sometimes it's the ones that have been with us for a while. They've been, well, this person's been with me for 5 years. But the challenge of that is that, again, they're constantly being courted by bunch of other people. And it's our job is to stay in contact with them, let them know, hey, we value you, we appreciate you, right? All of these things, because it's much more expensive to go and acquire a new customer client than it is to basically to keep the ones that we have, keep them happy, right? Do a great job for them and get referrals from them. This is the whole point behind, all of this is what we want to make sure that, that we're doing. It's no different inside of the real estate and the mortgage world, is because when you look at that is you find people ask people like, hey, why, did you not use the other person that you had before? It's like, I didn't remember them. Or, or during the transaction, what was happening is maybe there was poor communication. They didn't do a great job communicating. It wasn't like you go and research this. It wasn't their fee. It wasn't, all their knowledge or any of this other stuff. It just felt like there was poor or lack of good communication. And so therefore people are like, okay, I'm not going to use them again. And so, which is, again, we want to make sure that we're not overlooking this. And so many times as I coach and as I talk to, to different people in the industries that I coach in, is this like, when I have those conversations, like, how often are you talking to your clients? And it's like, again, not that many, and it needs to be more than not that many, a minimum, I always say of 36 times a year, and doing that in different mediums and having a way of doing it, because we're constantly in contact with them. Like we're letting them know, hey, we appreciate you. Here's value. We're bringing you value. And you hear me talk about this, all the time. But when you start really looking and doing the research inside of all of this, and we think it's like, oh, well, they left me because of price. Now, price might have had a little baby to do with it, but ultimately it was probably because there was poor communication to start with, because they felt like you didn't care, right? And then when price is like, well, that's paying a little bit less, I don't have a connection. And, and I've shared this story, in the past, is that I live in South Florida. My wife and I, Joni, moved here, 3 years ago, and our home insurance is insured by a different company than our car insurance, because just the way Florida is that our homeowners insurance, it doesn't, because of the age of our house, didn't insure it. So I have another insurance company that, to be honest with you, in 3 years, I couldn't even tell you who my agent is. and there's been no contact with me other than when I filed a claim for my roof. They reached out to me at that point in time. Still, that was the only time, and still nothing, nothing after that. And so what will happen is when I get my new roof put on, which is getting ready to happen, is then more than likely I'm going to look for new insurance. Why? I don't have an issue with the rate at this point. I haven't even shopped it because I've got to wait to get a new roof on. The issue is that I have no loyalty to this company because they've never reached out to me. They don't really, in my world, they don't really care at all. Like, they've never had any communication with me, like not even like a review, like, hey, we should do an annual review to make sure you're insured correctly. All of these things. After we went through almost a Category 5 hurricane down here, no one reached out. It's like, hey, are you okay? Is there anything, right? So what happens is I have no loyalty to them. I'll get a referral and then I will move my business elsewhere. And so I share that story with you and I'm highly sensitive to it, obviously, because this is what I do. I've been in the service industry for over 30 plus years, and I understand this piece of it. And I want you to understand the power of it as well, because you probably have people right now in your world that are clients of yours right now that are feeling like you don't care. I'm just going to say it. And this is where we have to make sure that we are engaging on a consistent basis with our folks and letting them know, hey, we appreciate you, because there's people vying for that business right now, and you know it as well. But we get complacent, or we don't have a system in place to be able to, do that. And that's why getting a system and putting that into place. Is it going to eliminate it 100%? No, it's just not. People are going to leave and people aren't going to use you for certain reasons. But if I can reduce my churn rate or my attrition by even a few percent, that is going to be huge. Or if I'm in the mortgage or real estate world, if I can increase my referral rate even by 10 to 15 to 20% is huge. And so I stress this with you. This is my main focus of the people that I coach and that I work with, is understanding, getting that system into place because of how it will affect your business in a positive manner of doing this. And it doesn't take a tremendous amount of time if you have a system set up in place in order to do that. When we're just kind of thinking about it, we go, oh, I need to call that person. I haven't talked to them in a while. And especially if you're dealing in insurance or in financial services, depending on how many clients, you could have 2 to 3 to 4. I mean, some insurance agencies, thousands of clients, obviously. And it's putting together a system in place in order to be able to do that. So I wanted to share this with you today because there's so much power inside of this. Is we're all going to have attrition. It's never going to be at zero. But if I can mitigate that number as much as I possibly can, it's only going to drop to the bottom line in my business. It just is. And it also allows me to be in contact with my clients and getting feedback of like, hey, and asking them like, hey, what could I be doing better? And listen to them and then do that. Because then what it's going to do is then people are going to be more apt, because the ones that are thinking about leaving you are not going to refer you. They're just not. Like me, I'm not referring anybody to my insurance company because I don't plan on staying with them. So if I'm not going to stay with them, why in the world would I refer them? Your clients are the same way. So the ones that are thinking, that are on the fence about leaving, you're going to possibly lose them, and then you're losing all the referrals that are ever going to come that way. So let's not do that, because there's a much better way in doing it, and it's getting into communication, with them. A lot of it don't have, we can't handle pricing. Companies are going to set that. That's going to be, a lot of that's going to be what that is that how we can overcome that is obviously number one is communication. Number two is going to be bringing them value. How do you help them solve a problem or make their life better or easier? That's it. And if we focus on that, the attrition will slow. We'll get less. It won't go away, and the referrals will go up. I 100% believe that, because I've seen it in my own business. I've seen it in the businesses of the people that I work with. So that's what I've got today for you. I just wanted to go into this in a little bit more depth and detail, just so we can get really clear, because I think sometimes we're like, oh, they were price sensitive, or they were price shopping me. No, not necessarily. It's the communication. It's the value that, that we're bringing. So make sure, just as a time to be taking a look. We're almost halfway through the year, right? We're halfway through 2024 as I'm recording this. So it's like, all right, we can fix it. We can fix it by start making changes today that are going to affect us as we finish out, the second half of this year, and have more business, people having a much better experience with you, and then increasing those referrals. So that's what I've got for you. Hey, if you want a copy of my what I call my client engagement playbook, that basically just says, okay, hey, here's what it looks like, right? Each month of the things to be able to do to help stay in more engagement with them. Just drop it in the comments down below. I'll send it over to you for free. That way you have a playbook of like, okay, now this is what it looks like to be able to do that. And you can start implementing those things to start generating, right, more business, keeping the business that we already have, because you've already paid for it. You've already earned it. So let's keep more of it and let's generate more referrals. So thank you guys. If there's anything that else I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll see you in the next video.